Hi, Sheddies. Very quick Gallagher Premiership Round 9 players to watch special. First match is starting in about half an hour. I'm sure you came to me first to make sure you knew who to watch. So, Bristol versus Sharks. 3 players from each team that need to be paid attention to. Bristol, first player, Ellis Genge at his rampaging best, scrummaging better than he used to, up against a Sale pack that traditionally are very, very good, but in more recent times that they haven't really fronted up as much. So Ellis Genge is going to be one to watch. Also, Little Harry Randall, of course, running with his candle, being very careful not to spill it on his sandal. He's back from injury, played last week, was okay, but we want to see improvements from him. He is an exciting little player. And then third, of course, Ravuvu. You can't really look past him. Always an exciting player. Didn't have a good game last week. Dropped a lot of ball. Didn't look very confident, but still managed to score at least one try. Then from Sale Sharks, Luke Cowan-Dickie, playing the best he's played in a while consistently and has managed to stay injury-free miraculously. A very, very hard, tough player. Exactly the kind of player that Sale need if they're going to sort of toughen up their soft spot they seem to have developed. Second at Sale, Rafi Quirk. Similar to Little Harry Randall, even more so, has been a victim of injuries. And also kind of a victim of his own athletic talent. He was starting to be seen, I think, as an impact sub, but now it seems that he's overcome his injuries and he seems to be, at the very least, being groomed by Sanderson to be first choice scrum half ahead of the very average Gus Waugh. And then third at Sale, it's going to be James Harper. Is it James? Yes. Not a great player, but very important, and we will need to watch him because he has failed in spectacular fashion more than once. And if he lets Ellis Genge get the better of him at scrum time, it's just going to be downhill. So that's important to watch. Next match, Newcastle versus Gloucester. At Newcastle, Christian Wade is back. Always going to be the main draw for this Newcastle team. Then Amanaki Mafi, I hope I said his name right. He's on the bench, but he is by far Newcastle's best, if not best player. Certainly he is their best carrier. One of the best carriers in the Premiership. So expect to see him on fairly early, rampaging around. And then third, Brett Connon, mainly because he's in my fantasy team, because as some of you know, I didn't get to pick my team. I got last pick during the, the draft. And all of the fly halves were gone, so I got stuck with Brett Connon. But not a bad player. And if Newcastle can front up, if their pack can front up and get them some good possession, he can orchestrate things pretty well. But they're against Gloucester, who very hot and cold, but very exciting to watch. First player to watch, Thomas Williams, the Harlem Globetrotter of a player. Absolutely magic, always worth watching. Next is Charlie Atkinson, who, one of those players who, when he first burst on the scene as a very young man, looked like he was sort of the future of English rugby, and kind of fizzled out due to, well, for one thing, his team dying on its ass, Wasps, and then just never really managed to settle in at any other club, certainly at fly half, his preferred position. Now he seems to be playing fullback more at Gloucester, but he has been playing well. And then third at Gloucester, Alafabi Fasogbon. He's a player who, when he first burst on the scene, against Ellis Genge, you will remember, won a bunch of penalties, everyone hyped him up as the next big thing, was brought into the England squad, has now had injuries, and is just making his comeback now. Tight head isn't as big of a problem area for England, the national side, as it was, but it is still probably our weakest position, at least in terms of depth, because you've got Will Stewart established as our first choice tight head, but he's injured. Joe Hayes has done really well to improve and is a solid tight head now. With Will Stewart out, we have him starting. But then who's next? There's a couple of players, but no one really forcing their way into the team. Fasogbon could do that if he gets in. I would say just 2 or 3 good performances will get him back in the England squad. So he's worth watching. Next, Bath versus Exeter. A huge game with Bath up until last week, where they got pretty easily handled by Saints, I think most people would have said they were hands down the best team in the Premiership. Some people would say they still are, against an Exeter Chiefs team who have really come into form. A big game for both of them. At Bath, players to watch. Finn Russell, first of all. Finn Russell is always a player to watch for obvious reasons, but even more so now after a weekend that he will want to forget. Did not play well at all against Saints, but he wasn't the only one. Next player to watch at Bath, Ollie Lawrence. World-class, amazing player, England's first choice, but not good last week. Dropping balls, failing to make an impression in general. Not a good game. He will want to have a good game this week. And then third, Santi Carreras, probably the biggest signing, certainly for Bath, the biggest signing of the season. A world-class talent who hasn't really been available to Bath, mainly because he's been playing for Argentina, and they've obviously wanted to rest him and not overwork him. So expect a big game from him. But Exeter Chiefs, the first player I want to mention is a back rower, but maybe not the one you were thinking, because it's Ethan Roots. Now, well, I'll just say it. The other back rower is Greg Fisselau, player of the month in December. Exeter Chiefs fans love him, think he's the best number 8 in the Premiership. No one else really rates him that highly, but he does have potential. Now, one of the criticisms I've been given by Chiefs fans is that without seeing him in person, you miss out on a lot of the unseen work he's doing. Now, I actually think watching rugby on TV, you can see more than a lot of people do tend to see if you just choose to focus on it. So when the camera pans back, it is possible to focus on certain players. Last weekend, I wanted to watch Greg Fisselau. I wanted to see what he was doing. I wanted to see this unseen work, right? But you know who I kept seeing? Ethan Roots. Ethan Roots, who, when he was playing for England, I didn't really quite get it. But you want to talk about just hard work, dirty work, he's your man. I saw him everywhere last weekend, just tackling, rucking, wrestling, being a real prick. So those are, and then Greg Fisselau is having a good season, and he's getting better, seemingly getting better each week. So those are two players to watch at Chiefs. Third player, Harvey Skinner, the non-goal kicking fly half. Because he doesn't kick goals, I think people sort of just ignore him, but he is one of the form fly halves in the Premiership. If he was kicking a bunch of points, I think he would be very much on people's England radar, albeit with very stiff competition. Him against Finn Russell is going to be very interesting because he tends to play, I won't say he outplays his opposite number, but he tends to play very well when he's up against big name 10s. So let's see what happens. Next, Northampton versus Harlequins. On paper, this should be an easy win for Saints. But of course, Harlequins are very unpredictable. Players to watch for Saints. Number 1, Callum Chick. There's no Henry Pollock. There's not as much flash in this team. But Callum Chick is almost the antithesis to Henry Pollock. He's not flashy. He's not abrasive. He's not in your face. He just does the basics really well, runs hard all day long. Let's see how he does. Next for Saints, Finn Smith needs a big game because he's sort of, at this point, vying with George Ford for England's starting spot. Last week was really good for him. Let's see how he does against Marcus Smith, someone who I would normally say is in the England equation. But maybe not so much after more than one poor games this season. It hasn't been good for Marcus. Finn Smith will need to have a good game here, and if he does, you know. And then third for Saints, Tommy Freeman played exceptionally well at outside centre last week. I actually don't remember if he's playing centre or wing this week, and that would be something worth talking about. But wherever he plays, he's one to watch. Not so much. He doesn't really have a lot to prove. He always plays well, but that's why we need to watch him. He's exciting. Let's see how he does against an exciting Harlequins backline. My notes just closed on my phone. At Harlequins, 3 players to watch. Marcus Smith, I mentioned. Very much with a big spotlight on him right now for the wrong reasons. He needs to step up and show that he's got the goods. Of course, that's easier said than done when you're a halfback playing behind a very soft pack, which is what he's been dealing with. That being said, another player to watch for Quins, for the same reason as Marcus Smith, in the pack, Chandler Cunningham South. Absolutely useless last week. Every time he got the ball, he was handled very easily by Saints. His point of difference is his ball carrying, and he couldn't do anything last week. And a lot of people are saying he's a phony. He's a fake. He's never been that great. I don't agree. I've seen him perform really well, running over quality defenders. So he needs to step up this week big time. And if he does, it's going to be a hard day at the office for Saints. And the third player at Quins to watch is in the pack, but someone who I have mentioned plays well every week, even when the rest of the pack are playing terribly, and that's Jack Kenningham. Last week, Quins were awful, but he still stood out as a great player. Watch him this weekend. Next, and the final game, Leicester versus Saracens. Now, first player to watch for Leicester, Nicky Smith, because he seems to be... It's almost like he is the best loose head prop in the Premiership. Maybe he is. But he seems to get the better of every tight head he comes up against one way or another. A really, really good, rare Welsh quality player. Another big player to watch, Ollie Chesham, coming back from injury. At his best, he's world class. Has he had a game this season since injury? Did he play last week? I think he may have come on off the bench last week, but I don't remember how he played, but he's definitely worth watching. And then third at Saints, Jack Van Portfleet, because he's a guy always in the England conversation, but I personally don't rate him that highly. So let's see how he does. For Saracens, first player to watch, Elliot Daly. Let's see, going up against Leicester. For some reason, I thought Saracens were going to be playing Exeter Chiefs, and I was sort of thinking of Elliot Daly and his experience, his consistency, his maturity up against Exeter Chiefs' exciting talent on the wings, players like Theo Waboso. But they're against Leicester. Ollie Hasser-Collins, Adam Radwan. I guess that still applies. How does Elliot Daly's experience and all-round qualities fare against someone like Adam Radwan's electric pace? I suspect he'll come out on top, but we'll see. And then the second and third players to watch for Saracens. One, Ben Earl. They're both back rowers. Ben Earl, because he is England's starting number 8, and has been a little bit hot and cold for me this season, albeit whilst not playing as much as I would have liked. I expect a big game from him today or tomorrow or Sunday, I think that one is. And then the other one was England's first choice number 8, the best number 8 in the Premiership, a treacherous bastard, Tom Willis. Hate that he's turned down playing for England to go and play for more money in France. But what he does is undeniable. He is the best. I think I said earlier that Maffey might be the best ball carrier in the Premiership, but no, it's Tom Willis, hands down, is the best ball carrying. Certainly, well, he's the best ball carrier in the Prem, so he's going to be worth watching. That's it. I think I probably will break this video up into little stories, the vertical ones, that you can ignore at your leisure. Bye.